and actually ended up realizing I had a bunch of photos, like a ton of photos actually, so many that I don't know that it takes a lot of work to kind of get through them and find them all and kind of curate them and go back and sort of retell the story. But I think today I have a good handle on some of those images that I have and just want to share them with you guys and walk you through the story and maybe show you some things you haven't might not have been exposed to before, and maybe you can help me out a little bit too as I, reflect back on these pianos and kind of wonder what I had come across and what the possibilities are. So yeah, this is Piano Tech Radio Hour brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. Each week we meet here and try to bring you something interesting, someone interesting in the piano industry. We try to focus on the really cool stuff that's going on and the folks that are making great things happen. And Piano Technicians Masterclasses is online education, cutting edge instruction for uh, piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And yeah, we're releasing new lectures every week from our library for those that are subscribers to Piano Technicians Masterclasses, and as well as those who are newcomers. You can subscribe, and there's always going to be a new lecture for you every month to dig in, dive in, and check that out. I believe this month's lecture in November has been David Anderson's Pure 12th tuning methodology, which actually I just got a great message from someone just a couple of days ago who said, he just, tried all sorts of ways to understand, how to perform piano tuning, and when he came across David Anderson's instruction, it really finally clicked for him, right? So I think everybody has different ways that they learn, and I've learned from all sorts of different sources, and some people click with different things, but I know a lot of people click with the way that David Anderson teaches tuning processes. It's a very intuitive, sort of very present moment focused way of getting a tuning done. So anyways, highly recommend that. If you're not a subscriber, get in there and take a look. And if you are a subscriber, take advantage of this new lecture in your library. And we'll be updating you on what's coming up next month as well. All right, so today let's take a look. So I had encountered a Erard piano while I was traveling in Peru. I, I think I told you guys about this, give you a bit of background on it. And at the same time, there were some things that were missing, and there's actually even more that's missing. So basically, what I'll do today is I'll take you through some of the information that I found, some of the resources that I found, and then also while I was searching for the information that I did end up finding, I came across some more information which I thought was really worth sharing. While I was touring in Peru, I had an opportunity to visit the presidential palace in Peru, with an invitation from the president and his wife himself, and they had a couple of pianos in that palace that, to be honest, actually were kind of underused and in disrepair, had been diagnosed garbage, actually, by the local piano technician. So I went in to just kind of take a look and at least give a second opinion on what was going on with those pianos. So a really cool Play-L piano and a Steinway S as well. So I actually got a little bit of a chance to look them over, but didn't get to go as deep as I wanted to. So if we run into anybody on the call today who feels like they've got an interesting opinion or information on these pianos, really interested to hear what you got to share. So in the meantime, let's dive into talking about this Erard piano that I came across. And let's start with this blog post just to refresh our memory on what happened and what was going on here. So I'll share my screen. Okay, and we'll get into, there we go. Okay, so basically the story as I told it is, I'm hanging out in Lima, Peru, which is not where we lived primarily, but it was a central, of course, location that we returned to quite a bit, and actually just had to visit this bookstore just because we needed to find a book, actually from my wife who's doing some anthropology research, and lo and behold, as I accompanied her to the bookstore, we came across this really interesting Erard piano. And basically, that day I didn't have any tools or anything. Just kind of had a chat with the store owner about its history. We found out that it likely came as a gift from an ambassador, I believe, from Chile, to the owner of the store as one of her, grandparents or something like this. Maybe even, yeah, I think it was like her grandfather or something like that. And the piano had been in the family for a while, and ended up that they just had it here, right in the center of this bookstore, maybe being used a little bit, maybe sort of just a curiosity, a piece of furniture. You can see there's a little music book on there, so it was open to be played, but really nobody was taking care of it or anything like that. So it wasn't until months later when I was able to revisit the piano and actually bring some tools and take a look and get a deeper opinion of this piano. And I think I went through some of these photos a little bit previously, but very interesting to look at just kind of what's going on with this piano. It's definitely different than the action of today. Of course, although I believe this piano was from around 1875, and although Erard, the maker of the piano, was not himself alive when this piano was made, he was the inventor of basically the repetition mechanism in the piano. So it's very interesting to take a look at it, and it's not the original designs, but it gives you some interesting look at the way piano actions may have looked at the time in 1875, and especially from his atelier. So, just a couple things I notice here. It's definitely different and maybe in some ways more sturdy, I don't know, than our typical action today. These appear to be made of metal, or they are made of metal. I'm not sure what metal, maybe steel could be, in terms of sort of like a back check mechanism, but it's sort of on the other side of the hammer. And if you were able to get a closer look to that, there's actually some grooves that are permanently created within the metal structure here. So it kind of acts like that buckskin, a sort of friction point of resistance where the hammer can get caught, but it's way, way more permanent than the buckskin. It's not going to wear away. And if anything's going to wear away, it's going to be the hammer. Also interesting to see, though, the hammer itself doesn't look like it, who knows how much it had been used, but it did not look like it. The hammer itself, although it looks old and worn by weather, it doesn't look like the mechanisms of the of the back, what I would call the back check or sort of the catcher or something like that, wore away the hammer too much. So that's interesting. You can see on the back of the keys here, again, a slightly different mechanism uh, for lifting the dampers than we're typically used to. Also, something interesting here when you look at what we would call the capstan area. I believe this was actually directly connected, and that caused a little bit of a puzzle, for me that I wasn't able to solve at the time. Just kind of, how this all gets regulated and taken apart and put back together and so on and so forth. So very interesting to take a look at that. Clearly, there's been some felt that had to be replaced here on the what you might call the hammer rail, and also I've seen this before. The layering of material within the hammer is a bit different than we might see today. There's various layers of different materials, perhaps I didn't get to sort of analyze it and take a look at it. And again, maybe some folks on the call are a little bit more expert in this, but maybe various animal skin layers in addition to a felt layer. So interesting to look at. And of course, we also note that everything's made of wood here in the main structure of the structural mechanism of the piano. So you don't have the action rail that's made of metal, and that could be sort of an opening for warping and changing of shape more than we would typically have today. But I guess that's just, that's what you had available. So it's very interesting to take a look at that. Um, Now, yeah, and of course, Erard, the repetition. I'm actually trying to think now what the origin of the repetition lever itself was invented by Erard, but then Cristofori was the one who just created uh, aspects of the piano where we could have various volumes, right? So there's some sort of repetition mechanism which I'm not able to like draw out at the moment here, um, that was available, or some sort of nuanced of the action that was available when Cristofori invented it, but at the same time, Erard famously added the repetition lever as a major contribution to the evolution of the piano. So basically, these are just some photos from the rest of the day there, of visiting that piano. But so what I was able to dig up, this article was more for a general audience. I was able to dig up at least a handful of collateral photos from that piano, and I think I have more. So I will look for those at some point. But let's just kind of take a look at what I do have, because I think it'd be fun to share it with you. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen real quick. Let's see. Do those back checks go through the hammer shank? Yeah, they go through the hammer shank. And so I don't know that I have a photo of it. And just from my memory, it would almost be similar to the way that the jack goes through the repetition lever. That like the hammer shank had like a widened area with a hole in the middle of it where those sort of back check type of devices could go through. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And Larry Lobel clarifies for us, Erard's main invention was the double escapement. So thank you very much, Larry. Appreciate that contribution. So let me just pull up again. I have just a handful of photos, and then I have some more photos from some different pianos, which I think we'll find cool. But let me bring those up real quick. And also, I think I can share with you guys some cool websites you may not be aware of, that I came across in this process. So let's load that up, and we'll go here. Yep, no, let's see here. Yeah, there you go. So first of all, I definitely have some more close-up photos, and I probably even have some closer photos of how that backtrack mechanisms work. Just got to search through all these files. But I do have some closer looks at the piano itself, in the location here, so you got to kind of get a sense of its condition and its structure. Sadly, these beautiful pianos in Peru, I think, it depends on the location. There's certainly older pianos, antique pianos that get beat up here in the United States as well. But it's that much harder in Peru with less piano technicians, with less knowledge available, for somebody to actually take care of this piano and keep it in good shape. So it's kind of one of those things. We all have those fantasies as piano technicians of the piano that you take on as a project and make it cool. So this is one of those that, I think I've probably completely let go of that fantasy, but just had the fantasy of maybe refurbishing this piano or having some role beyond what I did, which was just kind of tune it up and make a few tweaks. So you can get a sense of how the look of the piano. You can see the strings are like. You can see how the lid is held up with the stick there. Now, this is an interesting thing maybe to observe. Every string here is individual, so there's no sharing of string lengths between two pins as you find in modern pianos. Every single string has its own hitch pin, and it's got a winding there at the end of the hitch pin, and it's just repeated over and over again for every single string. And yeah, it looks like if you do take a look at it, kind of looks like everything had been painted over at some point. I'm guessing that is an attempt at restoration and not part of the original construction of the piano. Um, Here's a good look at some of the strings and the wound strings. Again, I'm not positive um, whether this kind of kinking pattern at the end of the string here is on purpose or it's due to a bit of wear and tear in the string itself, but you can definitely get a sense of the condition of the strings, and you can definitely see that they've been then worn quite a bit over the years. And then also below there, you get a really nice close-up look at the hammer flanges and the conditions of those. And again, you could see the screws that hold in the flanges, and here this looks to be sort of the drop screw mechanism, I suppose. I'm guessing right there, but I don't remember exactly if that is the case. I don't know what else that would be. Another look at the piano's interior and the condition. Here's a good look at the strings. Of course, this is a straight strung piano, so there's no overstringing in this piano. I don't think that had been even invented yet. And again, everything's really not in the greatest shape, but it's still being held together. So here's kind of one of the interesting parts that I came across. So I would share this. I shared about this on Facebook and got a bit of interest and just tried to kind of spread the word about what was going on. So I did get tipped to some websites, which I'll actually share in a minute, maybe put some links in the chat. And just you can check them out. I think it could be fun, something fun to take a look at in a little bit of free time you might have. So basically, um, this is actually true for multiple piano makers and designers. They have records, of their catalog, of their sales and things like that that have been archived and taken photos of. And so I brought this up last time, but I didn't get a chance to find the photos, and here they are. So let's zoom in and take a look. And this is pretty cool. So it's an actual page from the book, and I'll try to bring up the website. Maybe we can take a closer look, because this isn't. You can actually zoom in quite closely and get a high resolution look at these things, and maybe that is some of my pictures as well. So you get like serial numbers of the piano, you get the name of folks that bought the piano, you get the address at which they were delivered. Let's zoom in here. So this is a little bit better. So, do I have the serial? I don't know if I have the serial number offhand of this particular piano. Like today, I do have it. I'm not sure if I have it on hand, but that's unfortunate. 1875, that is the listed date. Let me see if it just happens to be in these pictures. Yeah, it's not in these pictures right now. Okay, let's go back and take a look. Um, but I believe it's one of these pianos on this page that I'm showing right now. And I believe these are the serial numbers. And 1876, I believe this is the month and the year. And then over here, it looks like it's a repeated name, and so that's probably someone that's working at the organization. And then over here on the right, I believe this is the address that it was delivered to. And here we go, 1876. Yeah, it's probably one of these. Probably one of these four pianos. And then look here on the right, we have December 1878. Maybe this is the date of delivery of the piano. I'm not sure. And then this is where the address is listed. So let me show you some cool stuff here. I'll unshare the screen real quick, and let me pull up some websites that I think are kind of cool, and I'll share the links. So first of all, let's take a look at this one. Archives Musée Philharmonie de Paris, Paris, right? So let me put that link in the chat so you guys can take a look too while I'm bringing it up. And I believe this is the one. I didn't get to actually look back and find the link that was originally shared with me, but I think that's the link that was originally shared with me with these kind of records. And so I'll open that up, and then we'll take a look at what we got there. Share my screen. There we go. Yeah, so I'm picking English, so hopefully we'll get a rough translation of what's going on here. And take a look, just peruse a little bit and see, maybe we can even find something similar to what I have in these photos. So digital collections from the archives of luthiers and instrument makers. Erard, Pleyel, Javot. Those were very well-known piano makers in France. These are luthiers. Okay, so let's try clicking here. And archives. Ooh, is it not in English right now? Access to archives, present day of the fund. So let's go to access to archives. Okay, and here we see Erard. We have Pleyel, and we have Javot, and I guess we also have Board. So let's go to the filled in by serial numbers, workshop records. Let's open that. Check that out in a new tab. And then I guess I'll open the accounting records in a new tab just for the heck of it. Okay. So here's the serial numbers. Cool. So right here are the years listed at the right. And so we said it was around 1875 to 1876 or so. So that looks like it would be here, 1874 to 1877. So let's pop that open. And again, I'm pretty sure I'm positive I had the serial number for this one. That's sort of the original way that I looked it up, aside from looking it up from the year. So looks like that's taking a second to load. So let's let that load. And then what I'll do, we'll shift topics real quick to something related, which I think I'm interested in your all of your opinion on things and just taking a look at this stuff together. So as I mentioned, we got to visit the presidential palace in Peru towards the end of the trip. And in that case, there were two pianos that I took a once over, and I tried to take a bunch of photos because I didn't have much time to, do much else than take photos for sort of review. And let's start. Oh, it didn't down. I don't know if it downloaded everything. I guess we'll just take a look at what I have. Okay. Maybe we'll start. So first of all, a very beautiful palace. Got to get basically, and there's a private part of the palace which is accessible mostly to the, to the president and staff and things like that. Maybe it's available for special occasions. And there's a public part of the palace where, just like any sort of public building like that, there's going to be tours and stuff. So it was kind of fun. We got a little bit of a private tour of the private part of the palace from one of the assistants to the president, which is really cool. And actually thought that these pictures might be in order, but for some reason they're not maybe in the order I wanted them to be. So we'll just look at them in the order that we have them. Uh, so this 50. So this looks like it's the Steinway piano that I took a look at. Yes, it is. So it was a Steinway S piano, and again, I can check the serial number and we can look it up at some point. I may have a photo of it in this collection. But here's a look at the keys. The I'm not sure what these little dots here are. I found that kind of interesting. I've never seen that on a piano. Maybe it's something functional. Maybe it has something to do with being refurbished or something. If anybody has any ideas, let me know. Um, in general, as was the Erard, although much less so, these pianos were in a bit of disrepair and disuse, unfortunately, and sort of dysregulated. But I believe they were playable. One of the big issues, which I think is the reason that the local piano technician said, "Oh, the dots are tiny nails to hold the key covers in place." Interesting. Done on pianos going to tropical climates. Aha. Thank you, Larry. Very, very smart. Um, so, so yeah, so basically what I was told by the president, and if anybody has info on this, maybe we could figure out whether we agree or not. A local piano technician took a look and said these pianos are basically garbage. And I think I didn't get the details as to why. And of course you can see I don't know if I would call it garbage just from looking at it. But if you went and looked at the soundboard of the piano and some of the keys, I believe, and the wood of the piano, um, some kind of bug or vermin got in there and basically chewed away pockets. And it's actually very interesting, and I'm sure someone on the call will know maybe what kind of bug or organism this is. But basically, what happens is quite interesting. You look at the wood from the surface, and it looks totally normal. But whatever animal that gets under it, it eats inside the wood, but doesn't leave much more than like a tiny hole as evidence of having gone in there. So you go and you touch the wood where it's been eaten away, and it literally just breaks away. It's just like a thin veneer of wood and it's empty underneath, because it's been eaten away by whatever animal got in there. So I, there was a bit of that, and there was some in the bridge, of course, which is problematic. There was some in the soundboard, which of course is problematic. But again, it didn't make me think necessarily that the piano was worthless and you should put it in the trash. Perhaps again, it was the local technician's way of saying, okay, put it in the trash. I'll go pick it up after you put it in there, and that way I'll get it for free. I don't know. So yeah, let's take a few more looks. So basically, there's a Steinway piano and there's a Pleyel piano. Right now, we're looking at the Steinway piano. Um, and you can just kind of get a look at the condition. Definitely a better condition than the Erard piano that we looked at. And again, these type of pianos, if I remember correctly, were gifts. So that's, I guess, one of the advantages of being, a president of a country. You get gifts like pianos and things like that. Of course, who knows whether they're sort of diplomatic bribes or whatever. I don't mean to make it sound like it's covert things going on. But I don't, it's just interesting to see how, pianos and instruments and things go to build relationships, right? And grow, in the most positive sense, friendships and alliances, between countries. And so music and instruments can act as a bridge between people, and that's really interesting. So here we can get a good look at the strings on the piano and sort of the general insides there. Here's a look at the dampers. Again, it looks like they've been exposed to a bit of humidity over the years and not in the greatest of shape. Of course, the soundboard's pretty dirty, considerably dirty there. Um, interestingly had, it was a small piano, it's an S. Interestingly had these kind of custom legs on it, which are pretty cool. And there's me sort of taking it apart. Here's a look at the keys of the piano. Again, as Larry said, there you go. Just tapping some little nails there and help keep the key tops attached, and so that's interesting. And you can get a good look at the key buttons here, and things are worn away. Not in terrible shape from the eye, but also not in great shape. Looks like this is interspersed here with some of the pictures of the palace, so you get a sense of the location too. Some of the other things besides the piano maybe appear a little bit better taken care of. That's something I notice, which is sometimes frustrating, right? There's a piano sitting amongst other sort of what the owners might think of as furniture or artifacts, and the piano seems to be sort of the least well taken care of everything around. Maybe it's just because it's harder to take care of. I don't know, but sometimes that's unfortunate. Um, Now, yes, this is still the Steinway piano. You get a sense of the look of it, and maybe I went through this quick to try to gather these. Maybe we'll get a chance to catch the serial number and look it up. Um, this is a photo on the wall in the palace. It's a sort of a prominent figure in Peruvian history. I forget the guy's name, but I believe more of an indigenous hero of Peru. Um, yes, so we get a little bit of an interlude here. I think this was literally called the Gold Room in the presidential palace. Incredible, right? Incredible decorative arts and, all kinds of cool chandeliers and marble and painting and frescoes. Really awesome stuff. This is the room that the Steinway piano was in. Sort of just like a sitting room for gathering. I'm sure they could move it around for performances and so on and so forth, but it looks like they were mainly keeping it as, something for sort of private, small gatherings, or maybe even just for show in a room like this where you could hang out and have a look. Um, Again, we're mixing things up here, but I believe we're still on the Steinway. Here's a picture of the interior. You can see the damper mechanisms inside. Those are in pretty good shape. I can't tell here if there's sort of for me, I can't tell if there's like a little bit extra lacquering here that you might not typically see. I don't know, from instinct or experience, but uh, now, I believe we'll have some more pictures of the Steinway, but like I said, unfortunately, I think they got mixed together here. So let's move on and talk about the Pleyel a little bit. Kind of interesting to bring up here that in Peru, I found it interesting to note like what pianos make it where in the world, right? So in the United States, it's been pretty consistent. Steinway is sort of the name in pianos. Of course, people think about other pianos. They think about Bosendorfers and, of course, some of the more recent makers, Italian makers and things like that. But I don't know. For me, I think the name Steinway carries a lot of weight in the United States. Um, and I've seen Pleyel pianos, for example, in the United States, but I don't know that I would run across them as commonly, right? Whereas maybe in Peru, I might have seen a couple more than I typically would when I was in New York City or Chicago or something like that. Maybe it has to do with the class of folks that were purchasing these pianos. Maybe it has to do with the sort of diplomatic connections between countries. I definitely saw a lot more German pianos in Peru than American pianos in Peru. So Pleyel is this piano, and again, from my understanding, Pleyel was not only a piano designer but more of artist and furniture designer as well. So those pianos kind of had a certain aesthetic to them, which is kind of cool. Here's the action taken out of, and yes, actually, let's go back. We could put this in context. So actually, even though we had a quick photo of the Pleyel, this would be the Steinway action. You could see, unless the fireplace is the same in both rooms, you can see this fireplace here in the background. So I believe this is the Steinway action. And yeah, I don't know that I can comment in anything particular if anybody has any interesting observations about the setup of it or anything like that. I just was kind of taking photos for documentation purposes. Again, just taking a look at things and trying to put an opinion together for the palace. Is this a piece of garbage? I don't know that looking at a picture like that gives me that conclusion. My conclusion was it's an interesting piano, usable piano, maybe refurbishable piano, probably not something to toss in the trash. Here's not a great picture of the Steinway logo on the fall board. Here's a little bit of the palace interspersed, some more kind of cool pictures of what we were working with in terms of the surrounds. And again, I think we're still on the Steinway piano here, getting a closer look at the action. I'm not sure what these, it looks like there's some very intentional markings made on the let-off buttons. I'm not sure if that was intentional or it has something to do with, how they're expected to be positioned or a reminder of something or other. I'm not sure what's going on there. Again, if you ask me, I take a look at the piano. It's in okay shape. There's no reason to put it in the trash. Just say that. That was my general conclusion after looking the piano over. Hey, like, definitely don't throw it away. And also, I didn't see any bugs or organisms crawling in and around it, even though I said, maybe there were some issues with bugs. It wasn't like, didn't seem like it was a present issue. So yeah, and this is still the Steinway, you can tell because of the nails in the key tops and key covers. It's a little bit another look at the key fronts. Definitely could use some key leveling. Definitely could use some regulation. If you look at the punchings, the felt punchings even underneath the keys and the paper punchings, not in bad shape. They haven't been moth eaten or completely dusted and with hairs and dust and things like that. Got a comment coming in. What do we say? Nails in the key buttons also. I believe so, Nancy. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I believe there were nails in those as well. Yeah, I think that's probably what this is. And Larry had shared that maybe that was to sort of keep things attached because of the humidity might cause separations and things. But yes, these look like nails as well. Here's another look at some of the insignia on the soundboard of that Steinway. We'll look at the plate. Okay, here's a nice closer look at the action. Again, I'm still concluding that this is in okay shape. It's not terrible. Actually quite impressed, that it's not more beat up. And I got an exterior look at the piano. Looks like these are probably some internal inventory markings that the Palace has to put on the piano here. And here we go. Here's a serial number. Great. So I'm sure some, ambitious or quick serial number guru here could look this one up. I actually don't know that I ever got a chance to look this piano up and find out how old it was and see if there was some more information on it. So if anybody wants to do that while we're chatting, we can maybe have a little bit more research on what's going on. So serial number 292378. And I'll put that in the chat so it's available to 292, what was it, 292378. 292378. Yeah, so let's see what we find. All right, here's some pictures of the underside of the piano. Uh, I don't remember that there might have been some cracks in the soundboard. Um, and here's a closer picture of the action so we can get a better look at things. Yeah, even the knuckles aren't in great shape, but they're relatively rounded and not compressed or beaten up terribly. Definitely probably hard to regulate these. What would that be? I can't think of the name of it. The jack regulation button here. Um, that might be a little bit tough to do given the compacting of the felt and so on and so forth. But yeah, looking like everything's in okay shape there. More pictures of the underside of the piano. More pictures of the front of the piano. More pictures of the damper mechanisms. Looks like they're in okay shape. Another picture of the fall board. Here's another picture of that gold room. Very, very cool. Here's me and our tour guide. She's some sort of personal assistant to the president, and very friendly and giving us our tour there. That's the Peruvian flag, and we took a picture together. Beautiful stained glass ceiling in the midst of things. So these two pianos were actually in different rooms. So, it was part of why I got some pictures in between here. We had to go from one to the other and take a look. So I got a chance to snap some photos of some of the surrounds. All right, now is this still the Steinway? Not sure. We'll know in a minute. What does this say? Yeah, we're still looking at the Steinway. Not so clean. That's for sure. There's another cool picture of a staircase and some stained glass ceiling. Here's another cool setup. Must have been close to Christmas time. I guess there's a Christmas tree over here. A little bit of the Steinway logo on the plate there. Yeah, definitely. This seems like another case where maybe there's even a little bit of paint that just kind of sprayed over the pins and strings. I can't tell. Maybe a little bit annoying that might have happened, and definitely kind of dirty. But yeah, again, that's what happens when you don't have a lot of technicians around to take care of things like this, and it's not a priority in the location that it's in. More pictures of the action. More pictures of the palace. Yeah, really cool stuff there. It's a little bit of a balcony with that stained glass ceiling on top. Damper's not in great shape. Probably functional, but probably not the best sounding or functional dampers. Corrosion on the strings. Okay, so now this has play L on it. So let's shift topic to pianos. Let's look what Donna Bird said. Don't know what company invented the sloping waterfall keys for tropics. Guess is that the method using nails and keeping the traditional straight key top front would be preferable for most pianos. I didn't realize that was a thing for the tropics, the waterfall keys. All right, let's look at this Play-L piano. We have a little bit of time left. Beautiful piano. Also, I love the Play-L, the way they weave the logo name into the plate there. That's really cool. Get another look at the logo. Here's a little bit of the background. Beautiful room. Closer look at the plate. This, I'm guessing, goes back to the Steinway because it looks very similar, right? I think we just jump back to the Steinway piano. Another image of, I believe, that gold room in the palace. Now we're jumping back to the Steinway. I don't know why they're getting mixed together. Steinway piano. can't tell whether this, I'm guessing this is the Play-L. I'm not positive. We already saw this photo. Closer look to the Steinway action. Nothing outstanding there. More looks at the building. And this is the Steinway, I believe, because it doesn't have that Play-L in the plate. More of the Steinway. This would be the pedals, also in okay shape. All right. So I guess I wasn't able to download the Play-L pictures. I did find a bunch of them online, but I wasn't able to download them right now. Did anybody get a chance to look up that serial number? 1938. Okay, so not terribly old on that Steinway piano. Let me see here if I can. I'm gonna stop the share real quick. So yeah, pretty fun stuff. It's interesting to explore these. Okay, actually, now that this has loaded, let's take a look at the Erard record book. Cool. So this is 1874 to 1877. I believe that one that we were looking at was 1876. So we'll probably just, I don't know if we'll find the exact one, right? But let's just jump maybe to page 3, I guess. More likely to hit that 1876. Pop in here. Yeah, and just to give you a sense of the kind of cool stuff you can find, you can zoom in on this. And yeah, you can get super close, high resolution photos of these record books. And if you can read their handwriting, great. Yeah, something that I find interesting about this is that, it's just another piece of history that tells us, things about the people and the places that engaged. And I think it's important probably to remember that in this period of time, the pianos were, uh, you know, they were traded in more by let's say the elites of the time, maybe starting to enter the middle class, of course, but so you have some maybe interesting, political stories or, um, you know, popular cultural stories going on attached to these pianos. Who knows? So there you go. That's really cool. Let me pop over here into Dropbox. So I'll just take a quick minute and hop off the screen share. I'm gonna pop into Dropbox because I I did find some of those Play-L pictures, and I don't think it should be too hard for me to get into those. So I'll be checking that out. Has anybody come across this issue with pianos that I mentioned, that maybe there's some sort of bugs eating it out, or eating out the soundboard? I mean, in some ways, if it's just a cavity, in a piece of wood and it just needs to be filled in, you know, we've we've talked with Delfondrick, for example, about using epoxy, right, to kind of refurbish soundboards, right? I could imagine maybe something like that. Just kind of fill a hole with epoxy, and it's not the worst thing in the world. All right, and I am finding some more of these photos, so I'll just bring them up straight from Dropbox here. There'll probably be more of them, so it won't be as tight a selection. And we only have about 5 or 10 minutes left, so we can always revisit this Play-L piano in another session. Trying to open this. There we go. There's that. See how quickly these are going to load. Okay, not bad. Sharing my screen again. All right. So yeah, let's get some more looks at this Play-All piano. Maybe we can get through it before we call it. So yeah, there's a good overall look. Again, a smaller piano, not like any sort of concert grand. Got little. Oh yeah, Pooja just put a message in the chat there. If you want to give some feedback for the session, it's appreciated. You can click that link in there, or if you need to sign up for direct access to Piano Tech Radio Hour, Piano Tech Distance Master Classes, you can click that other link. All right, so let's take a look here. So there you go. There's a look at the Play-All soundboard. Bass strings. Looks like we've had some replacements of just a couple of strings there. And here again, if anybody wants to be a sleuth, the Play-All serial number is 71809. I'll put that in the chat. Play-All 71809. And let's see what else we got here. Yeah, there's that logo. I really like it. It's very beautiful. And I was just reviewing the lecture on piano construction that we had in September. It's very interesting to kind of hear about how the plate's designed in different ways that, different parts of the design that are important there. So if you feel like reviewing piano design content, I recommend that lecture. I've been going back through it. All right. So you got this kind of squared off edge on the piano case, just sort of a unique transitional design element there. If I remember correctly, this one had, I think I was trying to figure out how to take the action out of this piano, and it wasn't obvious. So it took a little bit of sleuthing to figure out. It wasn't a common way of removing things. And I think I've maybe dealt with that also on Play-All pianos before. Sometimes the design of them is not in alignment with what you're used to coming across. Yeah, I think here's me like saying, how do I open this up? Tug on this thing, or I don't actually remember how it opened up. Yeah, I think that's me being very confused. Eventually did get it opened up though, I believe, and we might get some action pictures. There's me in the room. Okay, here is a look at a key. So clearly there's a key that got cracked, and you can see a little bit of debris there. And I don't know whether it was in both the Steinway and the Play-All, but if you remember, I came across that issue of maybe a bug or something eating some things out, and this may have been a symptom of that. You can see these little sort of crumbs in there as well. At first, I wasn't sure what they were. I don't even know. They might have been like insect eggs, or they might have been just like as the insect chewed on the piano, it sort of dropped these little crumbs or something. But I did sort of run across that in the piano at first. Again, in the action, I didn't see any outstanding, evidence of this except for those, but I wasn't sure what those sort of crumbs were. And then eventually I connected it when I looked up at the bridge and the sound. This is somehow connected with whatever organism got in here and and had a little bit of a field day. So you can see I finally somehow figured out how to remove the fall board and get the action out of the piano. Got a chance to take a look at it, take a look underneath. And actually this reminds me, I had sort of Google Glass camera. I probably have some pictures from a totally different angle as well. And so that's kind of what I'm saying. I've got quite a bit of content here to filter. Got a chance to take the piano out, get it on the floor, take a good look at it. And it looks like we're almost out of time here, so I'll flip through one or two more. We'll wrap it up, and maybe not next week. Maybe next week I'll definitely update people. Might be able to take a deeper look into some other of these photos. Maybe to take a better look at the action. Of course, there's going to be at least some closer. Here's a closer look at the action. But yeah, I think it's about time to wrap it up today, so we can go into more detail on this one later. But who's got the same date? Okay, 1875. Pleyel from this serial number 71809 is 1875. Robert Wilson said, got the same date, but it doesn't look that old. Yeah, that's true. It does not look that old. I definitely agree. So who knows? I don't know why that would be, but maybe we'll do a little bit more sleuthing. Folks, I really appreciate you spending this time with me today. It's been really fun, and we'll definitely connect with you again next week. And I guess Thanksgiving is next week. I think we should still be able to do the session. So without any other notice, I'll plan on seeing you here on Saturday, and we'll connect again. And we may go into deeper on the Pleyel, or I may have some other content that I can share, or we may have a guest. I don't have a plan for next week yet, so I'll let you guys know in an email this in the middle of the week what's the plan for next week. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.